Welcome in to week 2 of the Gridiron Grind College Football Pod. It's Creta 3 along with Jimmy G. What's up, Jimmy?
How's it going, Creta?
See, you got the RIP Jimmy Buffett in the background.
Right.
Just
He left us this last week to go that tiki bar in the sky.
yeah.
So
Now, would you consider yourself a parrot head? I know you've been to some concerts.
I wouldn't consider myself a parrot head, but big fan.
Big fan.
Big fan.
Yeah. RIP to the legend Jimmy Buffett. RIP to week 1 of college football. What a week it was. 5-day marathon. I wrote a blog on Coffee with Creta. It came out this morning or Tuesday morning. Just how awesome it was to have football back. Just 5 straight days. Just kind of did a recap. And, week 1's kind of like that appetizer because week 2 is absolutely loaded. You got 2 first ranked games. Number 24 Tulane hosting number 20 Ole Miss. What the heck is Ole Miss doing playing at Tulane? Tulane is good. And then, of course, you got the big one, number 3 Alabama hosting number 11 Texas. Bunch of other good games. Baylor hosts Utah. Colorado, after that remarkable performance, they host Nebraska. Miami hosting Texas A&M. Of course, the Cy-Hawk Trophy, Iowa State hosting Iowa, and Texas Tech trying to rebound hosting Oregon. It's a loaded week 2. But the thing I got to say is you can't be fooled by week 1, Jimmy, just because it happened, somebody looked good or didn't look good week 1. That does not always carry over to week 2, and that is a big betting mistake amateur bettors make. They base their week 2 bets on performances based on week 1. For starters, all you have to do is look at that Colorado line. Colorado is only favored by 3 at home to Nebraska. I mean,
that one still has me like, I don't know. That one to me seems so easy.
Exactly.
And as we know in the betting world, if it seems too good to be true, Vegas doesn't do this for fun like we do.
No.
They do it to make money. We make a little money. One day maybe we'll make Vegas money. Vegas puts it at 3 after seeing what they did TCU week 1 and seeing how bad Nebraska looked. Something's up. Vegas knows.
Vegas knows. And to me, they're just begging you to take Colorado -3. For some reason, they think there's going to be a Colorado letdown or Nebraska's better than what people think. I mean, because to me, I was thinking at worst it was going to be Colorado by a touchdown, maybe 10, but it's -3 at home, and you get 3 points just for being at home. So they're basically saying Colorado and Nebraska is a push, and I mean that's scary. But the rest
on
of
the field, this isn't one of those. The only place where I'll say I've been able to, you get a little bit up on Vegas and not so much anymore, was used to a few years ago. You could get up on them basketball in college basketball because there's just so many teams.
Yeah.
And you could get up on them on a lot of these smaller teams like Marshall a few years ago when Marshall was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of came out of the woodworks. Vegas, it's like they didn't have enough guys for that's how it seemed to me, because they would have these Marshall lines really low and Marshall was putting up points right and left. Of course, college basketball, if you're a big fan of IUPUI and you know how good you are, you might can catch Vegas a couple weeks and then all of a sudden they realize they're losing money. Boom, there's a guy on it. Next thing you know, the line shift. This is not the case. Neither of these 2 teams are flying under the radar, especially Colorado after what they did. So, yeah, this smells fishy to me, Trey. I don't know.
I think also every year there's at least one team Vegas is slow to adjust on. There's always that one team. And you talk about like Marshall football a couple years ago, and every now and then we'll catch it. And we won how many weeks in a row we won just betting Marshall because Vegas hadn't caught up on them.
The highest line was 14, and they ended up winning by, I think, 17 or 18 points. That was the closest.
Yeah,
that was close. That 3 or 5 points was the closest.
And I remember 5 or 6 years ago, it was San Diego State. It's when they had Humphrey was the running back, and Vegas was behind on. They wouldn't adjust and didn't think they were that good, and they were dominating the Mountain West. But Vegas they're a billion-dollar business for a reason. They have resources. I mean, they have tons of people, and that's all they do. is watch football, and they put so much money and resources into getting these betting lines correct. And Vegas, it's important to know, Vegas tries to get the line where they can get the same amount of money on either side, because Vegas wants it. They are guaranteed to make a profit if they can get the same amount of money on both sides. That way, no matter what, they win via the juice. So that's what Vegas tries to do. They try to pick lines to get money and even bet money on both sides, then they automatically win. That's why it's important to listen to guys like the Gridiron Grind. We invest time and resources, and we just know football, watching football, and we win more than we lose just because we watch football, we care about football. But we don't have the resources Vegas does, so we can't do it to the extent they do. But also interesting this week, a lot of home dogs. A lot of home dogs. Let me tell you something right now. Don't think all those dogs at home are going to lose this week. I'm looking at, Baylor, after they looked terrible against Texas State, couldn't stop the run. They host Utah, who's nothing but running and big and physical. They're only favored by a touchdown. That stinks a little bit to me. And then, of course, Tulane getting a touchdown, hosting Ole Miss. Miami getting 4.5 points, hosting A&M. Iowa State getting 4, hosting Iowa. Texas Tech getting a touchdown, hosting Oregon. I'm telling you, one of those home teams is going to win. I don't know which one it'll be, but one of those home teams, there's going to be at least one home upset, because those dogs don't. Home dogs, home team getting points. Brett Musburger. What's better than that? So I'm telling you,
a
lot of home dogs. They're not all going to lose. So you just got to find the right one. And which one's the biggest one? You had to pick one, Jimmy. Who's on upset alert this week? Those home dogs. Who are they going to get? They're going to bite. Which bark's going to turn into bite?
Well, we just kind of hit on it a little bit with Nebraska and Colorado, but I gotta believe I still got some faith in Coach Prime. Mine really is maybe A&M Miami to me. Wegman looked pretty good, tossing 5 TDs. Petrino's got that offense, but Miami, something to prove. That 17-9 loss last year in College Station. This time it's in Miami. Miami's watching Florida State get a lot of hype, so I think they're going to be ready to play. And that's the one that, to me, could be on upset alert.
That's a good pick. Somebody's going to win. Home dog's going to win this week outright. I'm telling you, that's just how it goes. It's just picking the right one. It's a loaded week too. This is a great Saturday to be on the couch watching football. So it's going to be a great time. Let's move on to our questions of the week. We got 2 questions. A couple of listeners from last week. First one I'll send your way, Jimmy. This one comes from Ryan from Tyler. He texted us on Saturday.
Texas.
Yeah. Ryan from Tyler, Texas, sent us a text Saturday afternoon. He said, solid first week of shows, boys, but how did y'all not talk about the biggest offseason storyline, Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes? Also, how do you see the rest of the season playing out for the Buffaloes and Shadir Sanders after he threw for a school record 510 yards passing in his first start? Jimmy, I'll let you take this one. We didn't talk much about it because, honestly, I didn't know what to expect. 80% of your team is brand new. I didn't know what to expect. Ryan calling us out a little bit. We should have, because that was the most impressive performance I saw in week 1 with Shadir Sanders, Travis Hunter, Coach Prime in Colorado. But what do you expect to see out of them the rest of the year, Jimmy?
Yeah, I expect to see more of the same. They may not win every game, but you're going to see a team that's extremely talented. You're going to see a team that's well coached, and a team that is going to run through a brick wall for their coach. We talk about Pat Fitzgerald there. He's out at Northwestern, but what was kind of their PJ Fleck at Minnesota is another one. What was kind of their calling card was Pat Fitzgerald, PJ Fleck, all those guys could make players better. They could get the maximum. You squeeze every little bit you can get out of a player. That's what great coaches do. And that's what Prime's doing. Those guys will run through a wall for Coach Prime. And when you've got a team that plays hard for all 4 quarters, 1, it's a coach's dream, but 2, you're going to find yourself in some ball games late And that's where coaching, inexperience, players' inexperience may get you beat, but you're at the dance. And so I expect a lot more of the same, honestly, from Colorado. I expect them to be in some games, maybe surprising some teams. You've got Nebraska, okay, then Colorado State, then starts Oregon, USC back to back, Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, Oregon State. Pac-12 was 12-0 after Oregon State wins. Arizona, Washington State, and they end up with Utah. I mean, Utah, Oregon State, USC, and Oregon. I've got four games that I would, after week one, maybe not. Maybe
Yeah.
it'd be close. Maybe have the Colorado, maybe not favored in. The rest of them, I'm sitting here going after week one. I don't know how Colorado's not the favorite in all those. So Coach Prime may have the Buffaloes bowling. They may go bowling in Boulder there in year one, but
I think bowling would be a huge accomplishment, even after what we saw against TCU, because you got to wait and see what that TCU team turns out to be too, because it's not the same team that played for a national championship last year. But I still expect, TCU, they still have some players. You didn't beat a bunch of slobs. TCU is still I feel like they're still a good football team. They're going to win a lot of games this year. I was super impressed by Colorado, but like you said, the Pac-12, holy cow, how good is the Pac-12? It's so competitive. It's going to be the most exciting. And we talked about this in our first episode. It's going to be the most exciting conference to watch this year. It is, like I said, the 12-0 last week, 13-0 total because USC played week one. Only conference in the country undefeated, and it is loaded. And Colorado, they're going to be good, but to compete in the Pac-12, they're going to have to be real good. So we'll see how it goes. Tough test this week, apparently, according to Vegas, only favored by 3 at home to Nebraska. So see how that turns out. Be watching.
Yeah, and I can tell you after week one, the way Oregon, USC, and Colorado played, it's going to take an act of Congress to get the Heisman Trophy away from the West Coast.
Yeah.
With Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Shadur Sanders. So, yeah, Pac-12, man.
And also Utah dominates Florida without their starting quarterback, Cam Rising, who's done nothing but win the Pac-12 his first 2 seasons starting for the Utes. So, loaded conference. It's going to be, you add Colorado into the mix, it's just going to be an outstanding conference to watch this year.
It's going to be excellent. Trey, I'll take the next one. This one is this one I'll let you handle. This one comes pretty close. This is from Bells, Texas. I believe that says Davis. I don't know, it's kind of hard. Yeah, Davis from Bells. He says, how much stock should we put into the week one results? OU looked great. So did A&M. Texas struggled, something that, you and I watched that game together and talked about. Tech and Baylor did not look good. You think this will be an indicator for the rest of the season, or is it just kind of week one hiccups?
I got a story for you, Jimmy. It involves you and me back in 2021. I wrote this on my Coffee with Creta blog Tuesday morning. In 2021, it's Steve Sarkisian's first season, and they hosted, at the time, Louisiana was ranked, I think, 21, and Texas was ranked 23. And Louisiana was just coming off an undefeated season, I believe, or a 12-1 season, and ranked high. And everybody had Texas on upset alert. And Texas goes out and really dominates that football game, winning 38-18, but it really wasn't that close. And then Arkansas hosts Rice, and they're tied in the fourth quarter. Arkansas ends up pulling away and wins the game. So we go into Fayetteville to watch Texas play Arkansas. Arkansas is worried because they did not look good against Rice. Texas got that chest out, just ready to roll. Hey, we got Sark. We're good. Texas is a 7-point favorite at Arkansas. Okay, and we all know what happened. I had to listen to Jimmy and about 80,000 more Hog fans just call the Hogs all damn night there in Fayetteville. And Arkansas goes on to have an 8-4, just a real great season, competitive in every game in the SEC that year. Texas goes 5-7, and Louisiana didn't lose a game the rest of the season. So, how much stock do I put into week one? Not a lot. It's 1/12 of the overall picture. So, if you're looking at Oklahoma looked great. Yeah, they did look great, but they played Arkansas State, so I don't put a lot of stock into it. I mean, we'll see. They got a way tougher test this week against SMU. I think you can put those pictures together and have a better outlook on what Oklahoma is going to provide this year. But they did. They looked good, but they needed to look good against Arkansas State. A&M, same thing. They looked great against University of New Mexico. Whole different ball game going on the road against Miami, the Hurricanes, especially when the Hurricane faithful fired up, ready to go. Texas offense struggled. Offensive line, they had, like we talked about, they struggled blocking them doctors from Rice.
Yeah, bunch of doctors out there playing on the D line, pretending to be football players.
Let's just put it this way. I don't know how many doctors Alabama has on their defensive line. I think they're more concerned with their NFL careers. So, I mean, yeah, that could be a struggle. Of course, Tech and Baylor. But I will say this. Every team we mentioned besides Oklahoma has a huge opponent in week 2. A&M against Miami, Texas at Alabama, Tech hosts Oregon, Baylor hosting Utah. I'm just curious how many of those teams were getting prepared for their week 2 opponent, especially the teams that didn't look as good. Like Texas offense, they struggled. How much time were they preparing for Alabama instead of Rice? I don't know the answer to that. Same thing with Tech hosting Oregon. I will say this, like if you're Texas Tech, you lost at Wyoming. But if you beat Oregon this week at home, that Wyoming loss is forgiven. If I'm going to lose, if I'm going to go 1-1, I'd rather beat Oregon, lose to Wyoming. As crazy as that sounds right now, because you just lost to Wyoming. But if they come back and beat Oregon, all's forgiven. You just beat a top 20 opponent at home. Same thing with Baylor. But Baylor, to me, those are two different situations. The Baylor game against Texas State, Baylor's got serious problems. They got serious problems on defense. Their offense, their quarterback's out a couple weeks now, Blake Shapen. They're starting Sawyer Robertson, the transfer from Mississippi State. But that Baylor defense, they got a lot of problems. And Texas State, that game was never in question, really. I mean, that was Texas State was in control of that game from start to finish. And Baylor's got a lot of problems, and I think it's a bad matchup for Utah this week. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were looking ahead to Utah. I mean, again, Baylor beats Utah. That Texas State loss, it's forgiven. Texas on offense, how much are they game planning for Alabama and just hoping they beat Rice? I don't know. We'll find that out. A&M, I think, looked good. I don't think A&M had the luxury of looking ahead to Miami because new offensive coordinator Wegman second. I don't think they were looking ahead. They looked good against New Mexico. Wegman looked good. So we'll see. I think week 1's only 1/12 of the picture, and it doesn't hold much stock the more the season goes on. So I'm not going to hang. We've been doing this long enough. You can't carry over week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important is like you said, it's easy to fall in love. It's easy to fall in love with Oklahoma week 1. That's, like I said, eating crow here because I was wrong. I really thought Arkansas State would be a little bit more competitive. Everything went Oklahoma's way. So now, the week 1 eye test goes, oh, dude, Oklahoma's putting up points right and left. Da, da, da. We've seen week 2, and the past is that can't be sustained because they just don't have the weapons. So, I mean, you're exactly right. So it'd be interesting to see here going forward, like we talked about Colorado. Okay, Nebraska is going to be, I think, the launching point. Like you talked about Texas, Arkansas, both of our teams, we went into it going, this is going to be the point where we find out who we are. This is going to be the trajectory for the rest of the season. Yeah, week two lets you know who you are. That old Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were. Right. And that's exactly what week 2 is. Really funny thing for the listeners. We pull into Fayetteville and I'm driving and I'm going to drive. It's Trey and his 2 brothers. I'm going to drive them by Baum Walker Stadium, the baseball palace of North America. And we pull up to this, we take the exit and we pull up to a stoplight. And I'm looking around as we're pulling up because, I mean, there's just apartment complexes, condo, all this stuff. It just wasn't there when I lived there. And then over the banner on the top floor of this apartment complex is someone's Egyptian cotton bed sheet, and his parents sent him to college with, and he has ruined it. I mean, it made it cool, but he ruined it, and it just says F Texas. Go Hogs.
Yeah, I think it said Hogs by 90.
Hogs by 90. Trey goes, Well, that's probably what I'm getting ready to hear this entire weekend. So pretty
Jimmy, I'd
funny.
never heard so many F Texas to my face in my entire life. I mean, you just had to wear it because we got there on Friday. Of course, the game was Saturday night, and we everywhere we went, we're in our Texas gear. It just guys, just the most casual, just kind of
Yeah, just
walk by
like
me in
saying,
my
"Hey, how's
face,
it
be
going?"
like, "Hey," like get my attention, make sure I heard them. F Texas, like just, and that's part of what makes college football great. If you're gonna go to a road game and support your team, that's part of it. You got to know that going in.
Yeah.
And can't wait to go back. Horns visit the Hogs in 2024. Can't wait to get back. I'll be right there again. Same thing. Dressed in burnt orange. Just might wear earplugs, but ready to hit it. So week 2 is gonna be great. Gonna be great. We got moved to the bets. Last week, not the greatest to start, maybe like some of these teams we're talking about. Oh, before we do that, there was one note I wanted to make on that Oklahoma game. 3 teams scored over 70 points this week. Oklahoma scored 73. Ole Miss scored 73. Oregon scored 81. But Oregon and Ole Miss did it against FCS teams. Oklahoma did it against an FBS team, which is a better opponent, and Oklahoma shut them out. So they do get credit because they did it against an FBS. I mean, 73-0. It's not easy to score 73 points. Don't care who you're playing, even air, you know. So maybe that Oklahoma team, we'll learn more about them. SMU's a lot tougher test than Arkansas State, but still, I would expect them to take care of business this week and might not find out a lot about them until conference play starts. But, getting to our bets. Last week, Jimmy 2-2. I was 2-3. Little TO'd about that UCF under bet with Kent State.
Yeah. Malzahn.
I mean, going hurry up offense up 49-6 with 4 minutes to go. He's going hurry up offense and he scores a just garbage touchdown with 55 seconds to go to run the under, hit the over. And I mean, win 50 instead of winning 49-6, he wins 56-6. He's on my list. He's on my hate list. Gus Malzahn. Can't root for UCF all year now. He ruined it.
Probably trying to get another mythical national championship like
probably. I mean, that
Scotty
cost me.
Frost.
You think about it.
I can't believe they honored that. That's such a joke.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Go play. I wish they would have played Alabama that year.
Yeah. Got rolled.
Yes, they would have. But that cost me one a week. I'd have been 3-2, 2-3. Gus Malzahn, you're officially on my hate list. But we move on. Week 2 bets. I got 4 this week. My first one starts Friday night. The big one for me, season win totals, I got Kansas and Illinois. They play this week. But I'm going to take the Jayhawks at home, -3 against Illinois. Quarterback Jalen Daniels, he's back. He didn't play in week 1, and the Kansas offense still looked explosive, still looked really good. Illinois, they struggled. They're not the same defense that they were last year, where they were the number 2 defense in the Big Ten. Their defensive coordinator was hired as a head coach at Purdue. I don't know if the Illinois defense can consistently stop this potent Kansas offense. Yes, potent Kansas offense.
Mm-hmm.
And if it gets into a shootout, Illinois can't keep up. Kansas defense still not great, and Illinois is probably going to be able to run the ball on them. So that does scare me a little bit, but it's only 3 points at home. I think Kansas is just a better team, and college football's, if it's really, unless you have a dominant defense, and I don't think Illinois does, it's about scoring points. And I like Kansas Jayhawks at home Friday night against Illinois, Kansas -3.
I like it. Like you said, we took both those teams win totals. Of course, like you said, big game for each of them. And so, of course, we'll get to see. Hopefully, Daniels will play there for Kansas.
Yeah,
he's see
starting.
What he can do, because that guy is electrified.
Yeah, he is.
My first one, right out the gate, is Nebraska, Colorado over 59.5. We all saw what Colorado, Coach Prime, and Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter. We saw what all they could do. By the way, Travis Hunter, again, Heisman. Heisman loading. I love that post.
Just
Guy
impressive.
Phenomenal. You may remember him. He's the number 1 overall recruit from a couple years ago, that first ever number 1 overall to sign with a HBCU when he signed with Jackson State, followed Prime to Colorado, playing like it. Playing like it. Again, we all saw what they could do. Nebraska's going to have to score to stay in this game. And I can see Coach Prime not letting up regardless because, Prime, one thing he likes, you see, remember when he dumped the water on the guy in the locker room and talking all that mess about him
Yeah.
when he's playing football? Prime is another one. Prime will not forget, and I don't blame him. Everybody wants to talk all that mess, and so I can see Prime running the score up. Prime reminds me a little bit of I call the plays, it's your job to stop.
True.
So I like Nebraska, Colorado over 59.5.
I mean, if they're anything like last week, that one would hit.
They may cover that by themselves.
They could. And it's a rivalry game. You make a statement. New coach makes a statement against a rival.
Yeah.
So go on. Move to Saturday. I got 3 Saturday games. One, this is just kind of a principal bet for me. I've made this bet for a while every week, and I finally lost it last year, but I'm trying to get back on the winning streak. It's Iowa at Iowa State, the Cyhawk Trophy. I'm taking Iowa on the road -4, kind of breaking a rule of taking an away favorite. But the Hawkeyes, they've won 10 of the last 14 in this matchup. Matt Campbell is only 1-5 against Iowa, but he won last year, breaking that losing streak. It was a 10-7 game. Iowa was just so bad on offense last year. They're supposed to be better. Didn't look at last week. I'm hoping they display some more of that offense this week. Iowa State's on their backup quarterback because Deckers is out because he was gambling and betting on games as a college athlete. Can't do that. So
yeah, you can listen to the show.
Listen to the show, but
you're a college athlete. Can't place the bets, man.
You can't be placing bets. So I like Iowa on the road -4 just because they've dominated the series, and I think it's more of a mental block with the Cyclones when they play the Hawkeyes. They've just found ways to lose this game just about every year but last year, and I think Iowa comes back and gets them this year. So give me the Iowa Hawkeyes -4 at Iowa State.
I like that bet. Caden McNamara comes over from Michigan to quarterback the Hawkeyes. Tosses 2 touchdowns, about a little over 50% completion, 17 for 30. Over under is 36.5. Almost, I think that's interesting to note. If any offense gets going in that, I think that could go over. My second bet is Baylor and Utah. Utah -7 at 7.5. Buy the half point just to be safe. Again, like we talked, I expect Baylor to come out and play way better than they did because I think now they realize who they are. We saw them lose to what I consider an underrated Texas State team. That's why I took the team total over 4.5
Great
wins
call
this year.
by you.
Big win week 1. So I expect Baylor to come out and look like a different team. But Utah's defense just so good. And I think, after a big loss like that, coaches like to make changes, like to, people on short leashes. They like to overreact, especially when you've got a fan base that is really passionate and really feels like they deserve to be, one of the big boys in college football. I think Utah is going to be too much. Give me Utah by a touchdown. I could see this one getting away from Baylor late and Utah covering that pretty easy.
I like that one as well. I think it's a bad matchup for Baylor because what they struggled against Texas State with is what Utah does really, really well. And they've done it really, really well for a long time. And the 2 things they do, run the ball with big offensive linemen and play great defense against the run. Those things always carry no matter where you're playing. It's a good bet, even though it's an away favorite. I like it. My next one is kind of along the same lines. It's Oregon at Texas Tech over 67. You think Baylor's going to bounce back and play better? Well, I think Texas Tech is as well. I don't know the spread. I don't know. Oregon definitely looked better against an FCS team, but maybe Tech was holding something back. Tech's they've been scoring in the 30s as Joey McGuire's now been the head coach for 14 games. They're averaging about 35, 36 points a game with him being the head coach. So I think Texas Tech comes back, has a spirited effort at home. And Oregon, we know that offense can score points. Bo Nix has been on fire ever since he went to Oregon. I like the over 67 here. I think Oregon's going to be able to score. I think Tech defense, I don't know. You give up 35 to Wyoming. That's a red flag. But again, I think Texas Tech gets in the 30s. I could definitely see Oregon being in the 40s. and I think I like the over here. Oregon at Texas Tech Saturday night over 67.
I had that one too, Trey, for exactly the reasons you said. 81 points, and we ain't talking basketball.
That's a
That's
lot.
football. Oregon, the Oregon Duck. I know that they switch people out from the inside of that mascot, but that entire mascot group has got to be just the most jacked
Yeah.
group of mascots, people inside the mascot in the nation. If you don't know, the Oregon Duck does a push-up for every point scored. So touchdown X point 7, so he'll do 7 push-ups. Okay, the next touchdown X points 14. So he doesn't do just 7, does 14. So they switched them out because Oregon has been known to score several points. Again, 81. I don't know how many push-ups that is. My arms hurt. My brain hurts just trying to think about it. It's a
You
lot
need
of
to add that
push-ups.
up. That's a lot.
Yeah, but like you
Yeah.
said, I think Tech's going to bounce back. McGuire knows a thing or two about offense. If Tech bounces back, all that's going to do is add to the over. So yeah, I like that one. I'm going to stick with another over, kind of a similar deal. Tulane and Ole Miss over 65. You got Ole Miss going to New Orleans to play Tulane. We know what Tulane can do, and we know what Ole Miss can do offensively. I think this one's going to be a shootout. Similar to going back Mike Leach, some of those Texas Tech teams where basically whoever gets stopped 2 times is going to lose the game. I can see it being the same way with Ole Miss. Ole Miss can run the ball, throw the ball. Same with Tulane. They can both put up points. Nice weather forecast down there in NOLA. I think Tulane's going to be rowdy. It's going to be a rowdy home crowd. And I think some points are going to be scored in that. So give me Tulane, Ole Miss over 65.
I like that one as well. I think I was thinking Tulane was going to take a step back this year. No, they're good.
Yeah.
Pratt, the quarterback, he plays hard, physical. He's been starting now for 4 years. Dude can play some ball. And they're going to put up a fight at home, getting a touchdown and a half against Ole Miss. That's going to be a great game.
And I can see Kiffin, just like I said with Prime, I can see Kiffin not letting up. I can see Kiffin, maybe
Exactly.
Judkins isn't in there, but I could see Kiffin. I mean, they're gonna be slinging it and trying to really put some pressure on Alabama in the West, LSU in the West, teams like that. So I could see Kiffin scoring some points which just helps the over.
Absolutely. My last one's a Saturday night nightcap, 9:30 on Fox. It's the first time USC, and this will be USC's 3rd game, but it's their first game this season. They're going to be on national television. The other 2, they've been on the Pac-12 network, which nobody gets. So they're going to
I don't even think people in the Pac-12 get the Pac-12 network.
So they're going to be on Fox at 9:30 Central, and they're hosting Stanford. The over is 69.5. Jimmy, USC's offense averaging 61 points a game in their first 2 games. Now, those were against group of 5 teams, Nevada and San Jose State. But, they're scoring 61 points a game. This is going to be their 3rd game, their first national televised game of the season. Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, they're going to want to put on a show for people that are finally getting to watch this for the first time, this 2023 version of this offense. They might cover themselves. Also, they've covered 2 weeks in a row. Somehow Vegas keeps putting their game totals in the 60s. USC, they got the total by themselves last week. The week before, they only needed a touchdown. They got more than that. I think it happens again. It's 69.5. You're telling me that USC gets their 61, what they've averaged the first 2 weeks? You need 10 points from Stanford on that defense? Give me those points. I like Stanford USC over 69.5.
Yep, I agree. USC.
I'm going to keep taking them until they don't hit it.
Keep going to the well as long as it's pumping out water, baby. That's what USC on defense didn't get any better. And so Stanford's not very good. Okay. So that means USC scores higher in the 60s. So you only need less out of Stanford. Give it to me. I could also see USC covering this themselves, similar to the way Oklahoma did against Arkansas State, Oregon. I don't know if USC will score in the 80s, but I could see this one getting in the 60s and 70s for USC. So yeah, that's a fantastic bet.
All right. 4 bets apiece. Try to get to the winning record this week. We were close last week, but it's week 1. Week 1, you just never know what you're going to get out of teams. Week 2, you still don't know what you're going to get out of teams, but we watched a lot of football last week, so we are in the thick of the college football grind. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out our new website, gridirongrindsports.com. Jimmy G's got his big 3 coming up on the website. I'm rolling out
these 3.
those 3
I
coffee.
like these
I'm
3
rolling
this
out
week.
coffee with Creta blogs just about every day this week. I did a week 1 recap, did a week 2 look ahead. Thursday, I'm going to do our NFL picks. And then Friday, I'm going to have a piece on Nick Saban and how he's the GOAT of college. Some of the stats Nick Saban has, they're unbelievable. He's the GOAT of college football. I'm going to have a blog Friday morning to prime for this Texas-Alabama game. And so make sure you go follow us everywhere. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, gridirongrindsports.com. Like, comment, subscribe. YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We're on that as well. Jimmy, before we sign off, quick thoughts. Texas-Alabama. Who you like in that game? Alabama favored by 7.
Man, I think we're going to see more of what we saw last year. I think Texas has got to, and I think they will play better than they played against Rice. Alabama came out, sending a message. That's going to be an exciting game. I think maybe the game of the weekend for me is watching that. Sadly, I think Alabama comes out ahead, just because what you just said, man. It's Saban. He's the GOAT.
He's a GOAT.
And I think Nick Saban himself is worth 10 points at least, in a football game. So, yeah, sadly, give me Alabama, but it would not surprise me if it's close again. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
No, I don't think so either. His record against fellow assistant coaches is off the charts. Only been beat twice, Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher. Yeah. I think it's going to be a great game. I think both defenses are legit. I think the under probably hits. I think I could see a close victory by Alabama, even though I'm rooting for my Horns. It's hard to pick against Alabama and Tuscaloosa. So, but I'll be watching. Have a great week 2 of college football. Like, comment, subscribe. gridirongrindsports.com. Check out our NFL and Cowboys pod on Thursday. See you, Jimmy.
See you.